Hello and welcome to Down the Schnitz, Australia's #1 podcast relating to the consumption of schnitzel.
I'm hungry. God damn. That's not fair.
For schnitzel or just in general?
For schnitzel now.
I honestly can't. I've probably had it because if someone goes, would you like to eat this sausage? I will say yes. But I honestly can't think of I can't bring to mind the flavor of schnitzel. I think it's just in this
It's just bready chicken.
Is that a schnitzel? I thought it was a sausage.
Is it? You can have chicken schnitzel.
Yeah, you can too.
You can have veal schnitzel. You can have lots of schnitzel. I think it's the way it's prepared.
You know, I'm not even going to look that mystery up. Some things like Bigfoot deserve to remain, anonymous in this world. Ever felt like this? Australia's reluctant #1 podcast involving Around the Twist episodes. My name is Gabriel Twist.
I'm Amber Twist.
Today's episode was Brainless.
I didn't like it.
It's just kind of...
After Malibu had a strong plot. It had a strong story. Was cohesive.
This had pace.
It had pace, and that was it.
But it was just, I mean, we'll I think that, the problem starts when the opening sequence, which is usually something that, directly relates, if not is in some ways part of the actual story proper. And it wasn't something until I was going back over my notes after it was it was just completely unrelated. Because it's it's what looks like fucking, Pete and what's his girlfriend's name?
His girlfriend or his sister?
Well, that's I didn't even recognize it because it looked like it was a wedding.
It was Linda.
Yeah, see, I didn't even realize it was Linda because it looked like they were getting ready. It was it's like this old timey, sepia tone.
It was old timey. It had Tony and Faye dressed up.
Yeah, and
in flapper clothes.
Yeah, and that kind of
Bronson was dressed as kind of like a ringleader.
Yeah, with a top hat and shit, and it looked like he was officiating a fucking wedding because Pete and Linda. Because I didn't even realize it was Linda.
Yeah, they were facing each other. Then he pulled out their brains.
I didn't even realize
and
it was brains. I just had no fucking idea.
Yeah,
that's the problem. The whole, none of the relevant elements of the episode, and because they've got scratching and because it's designed to look like fucking silent film footage.
Yeah.
From the fucking 30s, and so it's okay, Bronson's again. When I was watching that, I was like, oh, that looks like, fucking Pete and whatever his girlfriend's name is getting married or some shit, and Bronson's officiating for some reason. And now he's doing a magic trick, and I don't really understand that, but
I would have much preferred the episode be on incest, to be honest.
We've already had cousin fucking. I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound.
That's right. Yeah, so he takes the brains out and he's juggling them.
Yeah.
And he drops them and they roll off the cliff.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, and then they're just facing each other, and then a painting comes down and it's got Brainless, and the painting goes whoop.
There are a billion other ways they could have done that title sequence, and each one of them would have been better. We literally watched the 1,000,000,000th fucking choice, and it was fucking
awful.
Stupid. Yeah. It could have been, science fiction-y, like the rest of the fucking episode.
No.
I'm just annoyed at that now. Up until you said, I was under the impression it was like a fucking wedding, and I couldn't figure out how a wedding with a magic trick between just what looked like two lumps, and we're watching this on a fucking HD television, not far away. God help you if you're watching that on a CRT. It's just he's juggling dough now, okay? It's like someone just bought, had spare brain props or something at the ABC. I swear some of these episodes are just, some stuff just tumbles out of a chute where regular shows throw all their leftover props and crap. And it's just hey, what are we going to do with 2 rubber brains? And it's
We do a Round the Twist episode.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you wanted the Round the Twist writing stuff, that's 2 rubber brains is a whole season's worth of stories. I could get 26 episodes out of 2 rubber brains easy.
So yeah, the episode opens with literally the kids at school.
Yeah.
And
peeking around. Yeah, Bronson peeks around the corner.
And then Pete and Linda peek around the corner. They got these weird things on their heads.
They're like Videodrome helmets, but made of Meccano, and they don't fully cover the eyes. Which is a shame, because I think if you cover the eyes, it's a lot more sinister.
They're not happy to be there,
I wouldn't be.
and I don't blame them.
Yeah. I mean, especially, it stabilizes around senior high school, but like senior primary school is like really just peak bullying time,
Absolutely.
And so they don't want to be at school looking fucking stupid. But, for some reason they listen to Bronson, so I feel like this is all actually on them.
Because, and Bronson has convinced Anthony to help him with his science project, and that's why they're there.
Which turns into Anthony doing his entire science project. Because
Well,
I don't think Bronson committed, much to...
No. And, of course, the bullies are hanging out at school. Because, like, is this a school day? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Because they just seem to be at school
And nobody else does.
No one's
and there's
in
no
uniform.
classroom. Yeah, because normally every other school shot of them at school, there's, like, kids around and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, it's fucking lunch. And there's, like, kids doing skipping and shit. Whereas this time, it's just like, it does feel like maybe it was after hours.
Yeah. And the Gribble gang are there, and they see them and make fun of them. If
Oh,
anything,
the
I've been making
Gribblers.
fun of Rabbit. He's dressed like a Pearl Jam lesbian.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, Rabbit, you're going to grow up to be a dyke, my friend.
Yeah, your aunt and her, like, housemate of 30 years are going to see the Pearl Jam tour. Both very excited. There is, like, this certain physiology of Australian white guy head that is just also butch lesbian head.
Yeah.
And they both wind up, like, convergent crab evolution, just getting the same haircut. And so, I'm sure they get along great, but like I feel like the Pearl Jam concert's like hallowed ground for them.
Yeah.
So that's just it's regardless of what your life position is that's just an area of peace.
Yes.
You're hearing even flow. Just shut up and let it go.
Peace be with your jam.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bullies obviously are like
Just getting ready to pull out a
they get ready to bully.
training bullying, I
Yeah.
suppose. Like just hurling slurs at trees. Kind of like the old martial arts training
Yeah.
sequences. Like you need like a Shaolin wooden dummy that you call a homo.
So they see the kids and obviously are like it's Christmas time.
Oh, big day. Yeah.
Big day. So they make fun of them.
And just like they're just ripping on him, and then like out comes like fucking Anthony, and asks if Professor Bronson is ready to make quote cranial history. I feel like promoting Bronson to Professor again. What did he contribute to this? Actually,
Nothing.
yeah,
Anthony just wanted to do science and get close to Linda.
yeah.
So Bronson.
Anthony
Bronson's
wanted
a gateway drug to Linda.
that's a steep price, my friend. I hope Linda respects that. Well, if nothing else, you have to appreciate the fact that this person was willingly, spend more time with Bronson, just for the, hope of smelling your hair while you weren't looking.
Oh God.
And so they call it the anthonic bronsometer.
That ruffled me.
Yeah,
And Bronson what did Bronson rather it be called?
the bronthonic anthometer, I think.
Yeah.
Bronsonic anthometer, I think.
And I was like, both of those are terrible.
All I could think of was Bronsonic the Hedgehog,
Oh God.
which is absolutely an OC. I'm pretty sure we could look that up.
Yeah. So they've got them all hooked up to this big machine.
Yeah, which is like a
Why
bunch
did they
of...
have to wear the helmets on the way?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. That is not supported.
Why was the equipment at home? Did Bronson build it?
See, that would have been, like that you could have tied that in, because he
Yeah.
used to have it, like he could have been, we had to use my computer and like, do that. Because, all right, yeah. But as it stands, it's just, we had to wear these and go for a walk around the school. Why? Ah, funny.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see you outside. I want to see how the light hit these. Because, otherwise there's literally zero reason. If anything, these should be hooked up to the fucking series of, like, aquarium tubes and motherboards that represents the machine that Anthony built for some reason. I mean, you could have built something else, man, Like, I gotta tell you, like, if your idea of how to get close to and impress a woman involves building a brain-sucking machine,
Don't.
yeah. Like, unless the woman you're trying to impress legitimately eats brains,
That could be an angle.
Yeah, then this is not going to succeed. Really ever, because there's clearly like just a fundamental issue here with your ability to perceive and understand other people.
So he straps them all up. And they're talking about how he's gonna do the science experiment and stuff. Gets them all prepared, turns it all on, nothing works.
Yeah, just nothing happens.
And he keeps going, oh, I'll check this. I'll check that.
He turns the power up and then he hits it with a hammer.
And Bronson looked very dismayed at that. I'm glad that Bronson even understood this isn't science.
Yeah, like it's there are things that hammer can fix, and you may be surprised with some of those things.
Yeah.
There are also things I'm not just going to hit with a hammer, and anything with a motherboard is probably fucking, like I'm not just going to hit a motherboard with my hammer.
No.
Like I'll bop the side of the fucking, case or something. I'll jiggle some shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a fucking mallet to that cunt.
And then Bronson spies the problem that the power is not plugged in. To which he instantly goes, I've discovered the problem, Professor Anthony. I'll plug this in. And Ashley's like, no. And he plugs it in because the machine's, he cranked up everything. It just goes bananas. And it sucks the twins' brains out. Because they put I forgot to mention, he put big probes up their nose. And when I mean big probes, I'm talking like 30 centimeter long steel-looking rods.
Yeah.
That go up the nose nearly all the way.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's like, like a stage knife effect, but like, in the fiction, this thing goes all the way up the nose.
Yeah.
I do feel like they could have taken a few seconds to do like a fucking Total Recall. I'm not saying you got to bust out like the fucking prop head, but you could have had it wiggling around up there a little bit to make it look a bit more uncomfortable.
And so the machine sucks their brains out, shoots them out of the machine, they land in the fish tank.
The best thing about that is there's just this shot of these two rubber brains landing in the fish tank, and on the fish tank is just this little sign that says "Our friend the axolotl," which I'm kind of stuck on. I
didn't get to see the axolotl.
I don't know why, but I feel like an axolotl tank would be better for naked brains. I feel like an axolotl just wouldn't eat
an
a
axolotl
brain.
Looks like it would have its brain on the outside of it already.
It kind of looks like an outside brain kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it'd just know what to do. But like the thing about this is what was the machine gonna do if it hadn't been like set to maximum? Just suck them out a little bit?
I don't know.
Because they look surprised that the brains are out, not the surprise that the brains are in an axolotl tank. Like I could understand if the thing was they were aiming to get it into like a tub for the brain collection, but they do seem surprised that the brains are out. That seems to be the issue because then they can't figure out how to get them back in. So it's like, all right, what was this machine designed to actually do? Because all you've invented is a brain launcher. And don't get me wrong, the fact that they're still alive and the brains are replaceable, that's an important development. But that wasn't the goal of this science experiment, And we never found out. We never found like what the thing was supposed to actually do. Like a piece of the brain, like a lobotomy? Like was this some kind of, I'm honestly, I'm gonna look it up. I bet money that like there was a vacuum used in a lobotomy somewhere. Someone was doing fucking vacuum lobotomies in like the fucking 50s or some shit. Get a nice like metal rod that won't collapse under the vacuum pressure, good strong vacuum. Get it up there. I mean, you're just jabbing a fucking ice pickup into it anyway. Well, a vacuum's practically adding to the fucking technological, component to it.
So obviously they were a bit freaked out about this.
Yeah.
And this is the part that gets me. Anthony's like, you better take them somewhere more quiet to keep them out of like harm's way or whatever.
Yeah, well,
more quiet than the closed school?
Yeah, it's another one of those little ones where, like, with just a second or two extra, some of the little details would have been filled in, which I feel would have helped the overall thing. Because really, it's, basically, because, like, the brains are out, and, Anthony is, like, maybe pondering a brain surgeon who does, like, house calls. The bodies are alive and staring straight ahead, and the brains pulsate. And so it's just, like, now the brains are in, like, a yabby bin.
Well, just before that, the bullies also were watching through the window.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They saw the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
And they're all like, sick.
I mean, yeah, I would be impressed to see a brain suck machine.
But yeah, so Bronson takes them, and as you said, they got the yabby bin.
Yeah.
And the brain's just in there. Bin. And
dirty and
he's
everything.
controlling Linda and Pete with like a remote control car.
Yeah,
remote.
like one of the two the twin stick remote control
Yeah.
car remotes, and like it appears this is what the fucking helmets are for.
Yeah.
You know, like because
Yeah.
they've got the helmets on, and the helmets appear to be an element of like you can understand. It's
Oh
all right.
no, I do remember what what it was for.
What?
The machine. He does say it. We skipped over. We missed it. The whole point of the experiment was to see if twins could read each other's brainwaves, thoughts.
Oh shit, that's right.
It was a very
remember
minor.
seeing-
It was literally one sentence.
Yeah, no, he did like because that was while he was hooking him up,
Yes.
and I was busy looking at like the fucking weird computer parts that glued to a board.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the whole point. So they're going back to the house. Bronson's controlling them.
I mean, that's fair. I will say though that your point about like there being no reason to get them out of the lab.
No.
Yeah, there just isn't. Like I feel like, and again, this is one of those ones where the bullies could have chased him out or something.
Yeah.
Or like they could have seen the bullies go, yeah, we better get him somewhere safe. We don't like because you don't want your bully to have your naked brain.
No.
That's fair. Because if I had someone I didn't like brain, I put my penis in it.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, that's
And the thing about the brains is they're talking. They can talk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people could hear them too.
They could. Yeah.
Yeah, like they could talk to like Bronson and shit.
Yeah.
Like I guess that's part of what the machine does is just kind of like gift wrap the brains for outside living.
Yeah. So they get back to their lighthouse, and Faye and Tony are off on a romantic day together.
It was called a relationship day.
That hurt me.
I know.
I blanked that from my memory.
So-
Thank you.
Yeah, Tony's taking Faye to where he gets his inspiration, and she's taking him to see her favorite movie, and that's relationship day.
He
And-
comments that the twins look, they're okay. They kind of look lightheaded.
Yeah, the something you realize about this episode by the end is I feel like it was the only reason it exists is just for like brain puns.
Yes.
Because that's mostly what it is, and other, general brain-related wordplay.
And Bronson makes them shake, like, nod their head that they're okay.
Yeah.
And waves. The thing that's getting me is every time the kids move, there's, like, electronic whirring noises.
Yeah.
Like, they're
Which doesn't fit what's
cyber
happening.
augmented.
Yeah.
They're not.
No.
There should be no noises.
No, they just... if the, like, Meccano that was covering their heads went over the whole body, it's like, all right, yeah. But that's just, like, the brains being out doesn't give him, like, whirring fucking,
No.
motors for shoulders. That's just Pete.
And the next scene just... Ugh. Bronson decides it's a good idea to make the bodies just eat what he wants.
Yeah, like I get you got to feed the bodies, but like then he's just making them eat like
concoctions.
like porridge and mustard and shit.
Oh.
Yeah, and like the brains are unhappy with this.
Oh, of course. And the food splatters on the remotes, and they go haywire.
Yeah,
End up taking the brain bucket. Pete swings his arm, and it picks up the brain bucket.
yeah, the bodies just charge out of the room,
And then they just run away.
Yeah,
They're just off down the street. They nearly knock over Gribble, who's like picking up a sign or something. And what did he say? He said something like, you get a brain or something.
yeah.
Again, brain puns.
Yeah, it's if you want to imagine any stray line in this, just imagine a situation where someone would make a brain-related reference or pun, and then contrive to have that situation occur, and that's basically this is basically what the episode is it's like baby's day out for brains.
Yeah.
Bronson is for the rest of this episode basically is chasing a pair of brains, and so like in terms of like a motivating factor for the thing, fine. Because from here it chugs along fairly solidly, because it's like the fucking bodies stomp into the lab, like fucking Anthony's gone down to the hardware store to get like some brain machine repairing ingredients. The bucket with the brains on it gets hooked to a fucking piece of home rocketry, which to be honest is a thing that if you're doing a decent fucking science fair, there will be someone there with like a fucking home rocket. That's a fairly maybe not that fucking big, but like, there's...
It also just goes up a chute.
Yeah, like, so the rocket gets set off, bounces around the room, flies out one of those fucking, like, shitty heat-sucking things that Australian schools have in them. It does a pretty good flight. The parachute deploys, like, neatly, which is a big thing in the, home rocketry community. parachutes down into the dump,
Yeah.
which is where Faye and Tony are, because this is where Tony gets his inspiration.
Dump, tip, garbage hole. Tony and Faye are there, and Tony. And Faye seems a bit upset about this.
She's initially not thrilled about being at the fucking dump.
Yeah, but she ends up finding like a plate.
Yeah, like so.
A fancy plate.
Well, like to Anthony's credit, he just sees a rocket, and he goes, "That can't be good." Like he just knows. He's like, "Okay, I know."
Anthony's the smartest person here.
Yeah, he's like, "Okay, that's something's happened," and so he gets back to the fucking lab and manages to figure out where the fucking rocket will have touched down, which is the dump, and sends Bronson out. And so then we get Tony and Faye back to like cutting back to them, and this time now you hear Faye scream, and you think it's because she's found like just a pair of jiggling brains, but it's because she's found like some piece of old china with like a willow pattern, and now she likes the dump because she can find stuff. And meanwhile, Pete's brain is in a puddle, and Linda's brain is still in the yabby bucket, which I think is probably the most sensible place to sit. And then then we get one of the weirder parts of this. It repeated a couple of times. It's the brains, but like not CG exactly, like kind of a shitty green screen effect, just bouncing down a dirt road to the kind of yodeling music that I think is like fucking just incidental music from like Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
So it's just like, here's a dirt road, here's some yodeling, and here's some brains playing leapfrog.
Yeah. So they're trying to get home. Faye excitedly finds up the plate and was like, now she's all about the garbage dump.
Yeah.
She's trying to find more plates.
Doesn't even want to leave. She got one of those giant ass wooden forks that mums love.
Very funny, yeah.
Which is a fucking solid call out on mums.
Absolutely.
Fucking giant wooden fork. That's going in the
I've
house.
thought about getting one. I just want one as a threat,
Yeah, you say that now.
No, but like, seriously, if someone shook a giant fork at you and was like, eat your greens, you'd be like, oh God, I'm going to get forked.
I don't have any greens. This is a petrol station.
So yeah, the brains are jumping along the road. They get nearly ran over.
Yeah, they kind of try to hitchhike, sort of. But then, like, Tony and Faye drive by and naturally don't, like, you're not going to see...
Tony and Faye.
Wasn't it?
No, that was a random truck.
Oh, okay, fuck, I thought it was the Tony and Faye truck.
No, because their truck is, like, blue and it's...
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's right,
This
because
one
it was
a
like
big
a
white
tan,
truck.
yeah, like a...
So it blows them off the path. With then Bronson rides past them.
Yeah, and doesn't see them.
Unfortunately.
I mean, you wouldn't be checking just roadside ditches for brains.
No.
Even if you were looking for brains. Hey, ditch brains.
Oh, I forgot to mention what the one thing that like made me like kind of black out for 10 minutes was back when Anthony was setting up the machine, and he said, "Let's get turned on."
Oh God!
And he goes, he goes, the machine that is," and it's like, oh God, oh God.
It's just one of those things. It's just slightly too adult for this, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you can say it, but you don't draw attention to it,
So we get that leads back into the next part, because Anthony is like preparing things in the lab, and he's just gazing at Linda.
I took one look at that, and it was like, I have watched too much anime to see like a weird brain ejection lab turn into a weird horny teenager standing near a girl's body that won't remember what he does to it.
Yeah. And
but Anthony's a gentleman.
He's like, it figures the first time I get alone with you, you get your brain sucked out of your cerebellum, whatever he says. And he spies the Viking Book of Love. And he goes, "You don't mind, do you? You can't ask that, Anthony. You know the brain's not there."
Yeah. I mean, I will say, to be fair, he doesn't know what it does.
No, but still, he asked for consent to go through her things. She wasn't there. He knows that.
Yeah.
So he picks up the book and starts reading to her. And this shut you the fuck up, because you were like, does it even work if the brain's not there?
Yeah, because I feel like in order to make you be in love with someone, you kind of have to be there.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, you can make me horny for something, but I'm just going to be confused.
But to their credit, that you see the magic sparkles on the face, and then it swaps back to the brains.
And the magic sparkles are on the brains.
And she's suddenly like, oh, Anthony.
Yeah, now like there's a horny Linda brain.
And Yeah, so that she hops off. Pete follows her, and this is where the yodeling kicks in full force.
This is like just a full. We've got like 5 minutes of stuff with brains.
Yeah.
So it's just yodeling and
because you see Tony and Faye going into the cinema, and that's what kicks it off. They're going to go see the movie. Tony's hesitant; he doesn't want to see it.
The movie they're going to see, Practical Magic, which is Linda's favorite movie. Actually,
Faye.
You know what? Oh yeah, Faye. I am going to right now look up the fucking summary for Practical Magic. Because I'm genuinely curious. Because, I don't know, like, they're trying to act like it's, like, some fucking... Like, it is a chick flick, but also I figured it was, like... kind of like, basically, if Charmed were a movie.
Right.
2 witch sisters raised by their eccentric aunts in a small town face closed-minded prejudice and a curse which threatens to prevent them from ever finding lasting love.
Yeah.
That's if
Charmed.
Charmed were a movie, and it's got Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman in it.
Right.
I mean, that's not I wouldn't exactly call that a tear-jerking chick flick.
No.
It's not like the fucking, whatever the bullshit is they watch, Notebook or some shit, I don't know. So, okay. They go in to watch the movie. The brains are getting home. The brains accidentally hop onto the front of a skateboard, and then the skateboard tours them back into town. The skater stops, the brains get flipped onto a butcher's tray. The butcher carries the tray into the shop, where they get put into the display. The brains are bought by Snapper, who is planning on barbecuing them at a barbecue going on in, like, the park in town. The brains try to escape because they don't want to be cooked, and they have already been floured, so being cooked is, imminent. They get stuck on a fucking, raw chicken. The chicken falls off.
A kid kicks a football, and the football lands on the brain tray.
Oh, okay. I thought they hopped onto it.
No, it flips the tray, and then they land on the chicken.
Right. And then the chicken bounces off, and it gets hit by a guy playing park cricket.
And the chicken's suddenly flying.
Yeah, so
they're
now
moving its little stumpy wings. Because it's a picked chicken. It's a carcass. It's got no head.
A regular about to cook chicken. The fucking brains and chicken get hit into, like, a fucking public toilet, hit the flush, fall into the bowl, get flushed. That tube just goes right out of the fucking sea because, well thought out plan. Nell catches the brains because she's sea fishing,
In the sewerage part.
In the poop, the poop water. She just reefs them back and flicks them, and the brains get flicked back onto land where they land in a gutter. A street sweeping machine is going by, and the brushes hit them and flick the brain straight into Bronson's face and bring an end to this absolute nonsense.
And he wraps them up in, like, a towel to keep them moist.
Moist
Which
towel?
Gribble shows up. Gribble Senior shows up. He's like, "Have you seen James? He's supposed to wash my car, and because I get allergies from grime and dust and dirt." And then he starts sneezing. Then and he grabs the brain thing. And he sneezes in it. Looks down at the brains covered in snot and goes, "Oh dear, I sneezed my brains out. I feel woozy." And then he faints. And that was Gribble's part of the episode.
Yep, big contribution, Gribble Senior, big contribution.
But that was a very important plot point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they have these weird little moments where they tidy up elements of the plot.
Because then Bron goes back to the lab.
Yeah.
It's empty. Linda suddenly can't speak anymore for some reason. The brain just starts speaking. And the brain hops over, and Bron's like, "What are you trying to tell me?" In the cupboard, he opens up the cupboard, and Anthony's in there all tied up.
Yeah.
And gagged. And we find out that Gribbles have stolen the kids. And they're using Pete to wash the car, and using Linda to serve drinks and food.
Yeah, which, like, look, you know what? Fair enough. Like, that's a good use.
Yeah.
Of, like, that's a good moderate, that's a good wholesome use of 2 bodies.
Bronson and Anthony show up. They have another gizmo.
Yeah, no, so, okay, like, Anthony has, like, the fucking Brainjacker remote supreme. So he's wearing a backpack that's covered in those fucking big 9-volt batteries that you'd get for shitty old torches. And this goes around to, like, a Giga remote that has a dish on the front and a Commodore 64 joystick attached to it.
Yeah.
And so now the little twin stick fucking remotes that, like, the bullies are using to get, like, Pete and Linda to wash the car and dance for them are fucking superseded.
Yeah.
And now Anthony, like, gets him to throw, like, food and hit him with the power washer and shit like that. And look, yeah, if you got a power washer hitting you in the eyeballs, that's...
I've had it in my butthole. It's not nice.
It's enough.
It's enough.
It's enough. The bullies, see them run off and like vow revenge, and then we get like Tony and Faye leaving practical magic and sobbing.
Tony's crying.
I really don't think there's anything like. I'm guessing there's a sad bit in that movie, but I also don't think it's going to end sadly.
I think Tony's a pussy.
Yeah, I think whoever made this didn't know what practical magic. It's just so funny that
I don't think Tony's ever seen a movie before.
He thinks Nicole Kidman's dead.
Yeah.
It's just they really killed
He
that
thinks
girl?
that they kill everyone in the movie dies in real life. Movies are real to Tony.
They just get executed.
Yeah. So they get the brains back to the lab, and they get them hooked up to the machine again to put them back. But it goes slightly wrong.
Yeah, because Anthony is apologizing to Linda and says that he'd swap places if he could, and then they reinstall the brains, and I write they're probably the wrong brains. Because I figured it was going to be a brain swap episode. That's what I figured it was. And then, Anthony runs over to Linda, but Linda has Pete's voice and vice versa. So now Pete with Linda's voice is still horny for Anthony.
Linda don't care. She in a body, she can fuck. The love spell doesn't stop, baby.
And then he's yelling at Bronson to flip the switch, and Bronson doesn't hear, and he's like, flip it. He's like, what now? And it's not, and then he flips it, and then his brain gets sucked out.
Anthony's, yeah.
And so now all the brains are in the axolotl tank.
And this is the time Gribble shows up to pound Bronson.
Yeah.
Because he's literally going to come up and pound a child.
Yeah, but this time, this is one of the situations where it's like Bronson realized that he had in his hands an actually very effective weapon.
Yeah.
Because he just stuffs the thing up fucking Gribble's nose and turns it on.
Sucks his brain out.
Yeah.
I don't think it had been turned off at this point.
It probably
Still
hadn't.
just on.
Yeah, just like a vacuum.
Yeah. So we get that, brains. And then we get a cut to Bronson winning the science award.
Yeah, it's just jump cut.
And the funny thing is, why is it in Pete's class? Bronson's not in that class.
I mean, I'm guessing it's like a school-wide science fair,
But there's much more people in the school than there was, because that was just Pete's class plus Bronson.
Yeah, it was just Pete's class plus Bronson. It's like Street Fighter EX plus Alpha.
Plus Bronson. Choose your Bronsonism.
Damn it.
Yeah, so Snapper's like, yes, Bronson's won, blah, 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 and here's a fine young gentleman to present the award, and to which Gribble walks in being controlled by the machine.
Yeah.
And
Snapper, because he calls him a volunteer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't appear to realize this is not voluntary.
Yeah, Snapper does look at him quite oddly.
I mean, I would. I'd be like, that doesn't seem right.
This boy is rather queer.
That's what he would have said, too. For him, language hasn't changed in, genuinely 80 years. He's the kind of person that still refers to, going out for a nice day at gay time.
Yes. Come, boy, we'll have a gay time. Yeah, so they do that, and then we see Rabbit and Tiger have Group's brain in a jar.
Yeah, and they're just being dicks and shaking it, it's very on point, because the thing about the bully groups is, if anyone falters, they just pounce on them.
If the lead bully stutters for a slight second, good luck.
It doesn't matter if there are consequences later. Right now, we have your brain in a jar, and you're a dick to us all the time.
And that's just how it ends.
Yeah. I guess, all right, after the fucking science thing's over, at this stage, we could assume that they'll just fucking reverse shoot his fucking brain back in. I do find it funny that they don't undo elements of, some of the plots now. There's just a brain suck machine sitting around. At any point, that could be a plot element. It's hey, shit, we need to get a brain out. Good thing we got some fucking crap for that. Got a whole fucking machine just sitting still in the, that weird musty room at your fucking school that had all the sports day balls and shit in it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give you for lunch or anything because you'd burst them or lose them. Yeah, Gribble ends by saying that he's going to brain you.
And the take is funny because he laughs during it.
Yeah.
And it's you couldn't get another take?
Fuck it. We're just recording brain dialogue. We're not going to be here fucking forever. I don't hate the episode.
I do. I don't know, it just had too, the yodeling pushed me over the edge. Yodeling. Why?
I can't explain it exactly, but it just, for every second I see the dirt road and yodeling, my brain just goes to Raising Arizona. I don't know if that's like, it's been a long time since I've seen that, so I don't know if that's like a half-remembered thing that I'm just like mashing up with something else or not. I'll just have to rewatch Raising
Look,
Arizona.
you've lived a long life so far. It's like, whenever I think back to old commercials, they all blend in my head. So, like, I'm not surprised that it's probably a mishmash of everything.
Just bits and pieces. But like, I mean, look, you know, minor issues is it starts, it has a thing that's happening, and that thing happens. The whole sequence with the brains is like, all right, you know, it's goofy, but that was the point. And then, you know, they succeeded at science fair, and, you know, Gribble Jr. will get his brain back in his body eventually, I suppose. You know, once they're done filling his fucking urethra with fire ants.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get one up there at least.
No.
Just an angry one, right?
That's what the signs in Queensland warn you. They're like, migrating fire ants. They're migrating into your penis.
Close your pee hole.
Close your pee hole.
Migrating fire ants in the area.
Oh, no.
Wear your pee hole hat.
So, yeah, that was brainless, and I do not care for it.
I really thought it was going to be a brain swap episode, but I feel like that's
where
already
the smart
happened.
money is.
Like, part of me is thinking that a brain swap episode already happened in like season 1 or something. I just can't remember it.
Probably.
Because it feels like something that this would have done, you know? Like, that's a fairly classic fucking trope for kids' media.
Yeah, true.
You know, they've been doing it for a long fucking time. I think they're doing another Freaky Friday with
Probably.
like Lindsay Lohan and like fucking, what's her name? And that's kind of weird.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Because it's like, what are you going to learn about really? Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is like nearly 60 or some shit, and you're like nearly 40. It's like...
At this point, I think Lindsay Lohan probably looks older than Jamie Lee Curtis.
Depends on how much gear she's been on lately, I think.
Did she ever stop?
I feel like they can clean her up for like the Disney films.
I think they should make a movie about her, like Adam Sandler made, you know, the Zohan? The Lohan. Starring Adam Sandler as Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, that's just... Forget that detail. That's just baked into all of his contracts.
I gotta take these drugs.
I mean, we're already getting like Happy Gilmore too, which I'll tolerate if we finally get some fucking comeuppance for Ben Stiller's character.
Yeah, he just gets away with being mean to old people. Like, abhorrently mean.
Yeah, in an Adam Sandler film.
Yeah.
To his grandmother.
Yeah.
That's been driving me nuts for like 20 years. All right, Amber. Yeah.
No.
No, too bad. It's time where I have to ask you if you've ever felt like this.
Okay.
Have you ever had to do a science project for school? Have you ever had a remote control toy? Have you ever had to do chores? And the final wacky question, have you ever had something serious happen to your head or brain? So, have you ever had to do a science project for school?
I feel like no. I don't think science projects were a big thing in my school.
There was one in year 5. It wasn't like a school-wide thing, it was a class thing.
Right.
And I think that was probably the last one because I made a fire extinguisher out of vinegar and baking soda.
Oh.
And it made a mess.
Look, probably, but I sure can't remember.
Because, like, it's like not as big as the Mentos effect, but it's like the Mentos effect. And provided you're quick, if you get like a big Milo tin and you fill it with like fucking vinegar,
Yeah.
and then you have like just a little thing of like, you know, baking soda, and you throw it in there and get the lid on fast, and then you have a little hole in the lid, you have a, you know, pressurized fire extinguisher. And like, I thought about all of that except what would happen with the stuff as it came out, because I just had no fucking plan. And it just, you know, it all got onto the carpet, which was apparently a big deal. Aside from that, it was mostly just, you know, high school, once you get into the labs, there's like all this shit you can kind of touch and play with.
Yeah. But it's not really a project per se.
No, and I do also think that there are just certain people who you just shouldn't let into there.
Absolutely not.
You know, because like as it stands, we were kind of throwing iodine at each other, like just the crystals. Because wherever it touched you, it would just sink into your skin and make it go brown.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I don't want to know what that does to an eyeball, but the fact that we were doing that, like, it is kind of just a dumb luck that none of us got it in the eyeball.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with probably, but I can't remember.
There was also this weird chud dude in one of the classes who just got like, you know, those shitty little like light bulbs that they do for electronics tests. He got one of those, bent the two fucking, prongs of it,
Oh.
stuck it into the power outlet
Oh.
and just switched it on. Yeah, no, it launched like this glob of molten fucking like light bulb across the classroom.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing. Like, he legit, like, after that, it was like, yeah, you're not allowed back near
Yeah,
the
that's
science room.
fair.
You're just going to sit in the fucking library and stare straight ahead.
Yeah, good.
He was a weird potato of a creature, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I ever saw him speak.
You got to keep the potatoes separated.
Yeah. Have you ever had a remote control toy?
Yes. Remote control toys were the shit.
They were like the big thing before video games really fucking kicked into gear.
Well, they were a big thing because, like, I wasn't allowed to be inside playing video games all the time.
Yeah.
So you needed something outside.
Go outside and play outside video games.
And I had a remote control car that flipped over and had a different car on the other side.
I remember that one. I
That
think my
was so
brother had
cool.
that.
It went really fast.
Yeah.
And it had its tires were like kind of like monster truck tires.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother had that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was a car on the top and some kind of like beast car or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the other side,
It
yeah.
was really cool.
I remember that thing. I think it even had like a tail or something. Like there was a button you could push to make it flip.
Yes.
The one I had was like, the last one I had that I really did enjoy, it had like a fucking water pistol component. Like it had like a snake. And like you push a button and the snake head pop up, you push another button and the fucking thing just starts squirting. And like, it did not take long for like either of my parents to realize why that was just, because all you, like, they'd be minded, you just hear the shitty fucking, like, just, that sound.
Yeah.
Like, there's just that remote control
Yeah.
car engine sound and you can't get rid of it. You can't stop it. And, you can just, you'll always kind of perceive it and then just, stop it. Just, the funniest thing you can hear from like your bedroom as a child is your parents yelling at you to stop it. Like it is too much fucking fun. And then I think we kind of fucked that one up by trying to put something weird under the water reservoir.
That's always
And
the
it was
case.
just like, this isn't going to fucking, this will clog up the fucking tiny little outlet and then it just won't work properly.
Yeah.
I did love, I
Remote
did
control
love
things are cool.
Oh yeah, especially ones that shoot shit,
Yeah.
Because I feel like these days you could have something like that, but like also you could put pee in it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily pee that did it. I feel like pee would work.
I feel like it would work, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly water.
Yeah. I mean, unless you've got some like fucking goddamn serious kidney stones.
God.
Like you're just pissing like aquarium gravel.
Oh.
Dink, 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 dink. Just,
No, thank you.
you okay in there, champ? Yeah, because like remote control cars were the big thing before like we got a master system in like 89.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, all right, well, now we need video games every fucking
Yes.
Christmas and birthday.
Yeah. Fuck everything else.
Yeah.
Video games.
Yeah. I mean, we still would occasionally get, like, there'd be those downtimes between consoles and shit, and it's like, all right, you got something for a birthday, so,
Yeah.
you don't really need anything by Christmas. All right, fuck it, yeah, because the Snake remote control car was much later. I'm trying to remember when that was, actually. That had to have, that had to have been around Nintendo 64 time.
Mm.
Yeah, I was year 9 when the Nintendo 64 came out.
99? I think so.
I think it was 98. It might have been, the 64 I think was 97 maybe. 97 or 98. I'm pretty sure I was in year 9.
Okay, well, I'm going to look it up. Okay, let's have a look. Japan, 1996. Australia was 1997.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine having, like, a length of time?
Often there was 2 years.
Yeah. No, well, again, like, the
Between
fucking...
shit.
The Mega Drive released in, like, 89 in fucking Japan. That was when we got our Master System. I didn't get a Mega Drive, like, 1992
I remember looking
or
in
some
magazines and seeing games that were out in the US and it'd just be like, I
sucked.
want that.
No, that sucked because you'd just see what looked like the coolest fucking thing ever and just be like, oh, yeah, this is never going to come here. You're like, well, all right.
Yeah.
Or you'd see those real shifty things in like comic books and shit that told you how to like mail order games. It's like, I'm glad this is all out of date and for America because you'd have stolen my money.
That's how the 64DD failed. Because you couldn't buy it. You couldn't walk into a store and buy it. You had to mail away for it.
That's really
including the games.
I'm going to have to write a letter to Nintendo. Dear Nintendo.
That's only why like 1,500 of them were sold. Also, when anyone says 64DD, I just imagine a 64 with giant tits.
Yeah, I know. That was my first thought as well.
I'm surprised no one's drawn a 64 lady. with giant tits.
I refuse to believe that hasn't happened.
I mean, it probably has.
Yeah. Look it up.
I will.
Have you ever had to do chores you really hated? Like, was there a thing on the clock that was just like, I don't want to do this?
I don't know. I can't remember if I had like set chores per se.
Just go do this.
things. I remember having Dad make me paint the house one day.
That is the funniest fucking thing. Like, because of all the... Like, how old were you?
Between 9 to 14 in that age gap.
That is legitimately so fucking funny. Like, the idea... Because the idea of doing that to an 18-year-old is understandable, but also really funny. Doing it to, like, an actual child, like, there you go. Yeah, you know, you're gonna want to head down to the hardware store and get, like... You know, some, like, fucking scaffolding and shit. You're going to want to rig the scaffolding on, like, you know, the night before you actually have to do, you know, the painting. Make sure to put down, you know, an undercoat, sand back first. And then there's just you with this, like, little painter's hat completely covering your eyes because you're, like, a child.
Yeah. And I painted the side of the fucking house. And then Dad came out and got upset that I did a shitty job. And I'm like, I'm a child, sir.
I'm a child. That is so fucking funny. That is... I desperately wish I could just picture in my mind's eye you just slapping paint at the side of a house.
Well, I was doing it the way he showed me.
Did you have like a roller with like a reachy thing?
No, because these were slats. So I was doing slat by slat.
Right.
But I was doing it how he showed me.
Right.
But it wasn't good enough. And I'm like, of course it's not good enough. I'm a child.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the undercoat, Dad, you fucking dumbass. All right? Jesus Christ. You know, hire some day laborers or some shit. I don't know. The one that I remember, like, I don't know what the fuck it was, but, like, there's, like, dog food, and then there's just weird shit that, like, the fucking butcher will give you. You know, and sometimes they'll sell it, like, you know, here's chicken parts and here's bones and shit. But sometimes they'll just be like, you know, if you go to your local butcher a lot, they'll just be like, here's a bag. And it just has, like, you know, offal and shit in it that they can't, like, you know, turn into Scottish food or sell. And there was just this bag in the fridge. And it was like liquid or gelatin or something, but it had that consistency, except it wasn't like a bag exactly. It was just a bag that happened when you wrapped something tight enough in like lots of Glad wrap. And it was just in the fridge, and that was something for the dog. And I'll never forget being tasked with dealing with that, because holding it was hard, because it's this writhing sack of fucking, you know, once solid material that had now turned into this brown liquid. And having to sort out getting that downstairs, having to like figure out, all right, well, I just got to puncture it and let it drain into the dog's bowl. Is the dog even going to eat this? It smells like, you know, even just the bag stunk. And it was like, the smell, I don't know if the dog's even going to want to eat this. And that I've seen that thing eat feces. And then just opening the bag, and one of the worst things I've ever smelled. Like hitting me like a brick. Like I'm just gagging, about to vomit. This thing is just turgidly farting out into the dog bowl. The dog comes over and starts licking it, and now I'm fucking feeling even worse. And I'm supposed to bring the bag up. I'm just like, no. It was just one of those times where I'm just like, I am not doing that. I don't care. The dog can eat the fucking plastic for all I give a shit about at this moment. That was the worst substance I've ever interacted with personally.
Surprisingly, there are no Nintendo 64 women.
Huh.
Yeah.
Genuinely surprised by that.
I am too.
Because normally it's something fucking, you know.
There's lots of people having sex with Nintendo 64 controllers. But that's not what I'm looking for.
That just seems a bit awkward, but okay. Ever had something serious happen to your head or brain?
I mean, I had the moth fly in my ear in grade 5.
That's funny.
It sucked. I could hear it flying in there.
Yeah, like, because that's one of those things. It's not a fear exactly, because I know I can just go somewhere and get it out, you know? And I have a lot of, like, good long needle nose, like, tiny fucking needle nose tweezers, you know? Like,
it's still a fucking... It's an insect in your fucking head skull.
No, again, I super don't ever want that to happen.
No.
Like, I will fight to prevent that. But like the thing that keeps it from being like just a fucking terrible fear that I have that just haunts me day to day is like, it's, just be calm. You've seen videos on the internet of doctors getting the shit out. This isn't like, some Indian slum. You can just go to the doctor and go, doctor, thing in ear. You can probably go to the, fucking hospital and go, hey, thing in ear. Can you just get this out right now? Because I don't like thing in ear. And it's those mediating factors that just makes it incredibly funny. It's just because, I can imagine how terrible it would have been. But at the same time, it's not like, it probably didn't lay eggs in there and you're okay. So, like, all's well that ends well. But yeah, while it's in there, like just flick it. It would have tickled and itched a bit. Like, it just would have been fucking awful.
Yeah, it sucked.
Just moth in ear.
I think, like, that's the only thing that ever really had wrong with head.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've probably been concussed a couple of times at least.
Yeah.
Like, I took a knee to the head one time and just briefly everything was green. And that can't be good.
Imagine the inside skulls. We have, like, printer filters for color.
Yeah, like, just, for a second, like, the fucking, I don't know, like, cyan or whatever, the red was gone.
Yeah.
Just, red's gone, red's back. Like, someone, like, jiggling your fucking HDMI cable a bit. It's kind of like that. I mean, I don't know, the only other worst thing that happened to my head was getting a fucking wasp stuck in my hair one time. And it just stung my forehead, like, 5 times. And, like, we were both very upset. And then, like, Mum had to hit it with a shoe. Because it was just tangled.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, it's got to die before we can fix this. And so now there's just like mashed wasp in my hair and my head hurts and I'm just in a real bad mood. Because like you don't want like wasp, like a standard wasp sting. We're not talking some fucking nightmare monster that eats like children. This is just it's a wasp, but still, it's a fucking unpleasant sensation. And having them clustered in your, delicately thin forehead skin, it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit mad about that. Like, that was your fault, you stupid fucking thing. Like, maybe don't fly into my fucking head, you fucking dipshit. Stupid fucking wasp. I'm glad it's dead. Okay, now we've got the unenviable task. Let's see what the fans have written in response to last week's questions. Gonna sit up into reading position. Greetings, Amber and Gabe. Call me Phoebe. I'm a long-time viewer, but only stumbled across the podcast a couple of months ago. It has been a surprisingly useful mental buffer through the death march of summer in a massive prehistoric lake bed, now river valley, with the average temperature sitting between 30 to 40 degrees centigrade at any time of day, with humidity near 70%. That sucks.
I do not envy you, moist person.
Yeah, I mean, that's great if you're an iguana.
Yeah.
And, like, just nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing
Find
else.
yourself a nice sunny rock.
Yeah, nothing else is going to enjoy iguana temperature.
God, I wish that was me. I just have a nice sunny rock to sit on. My life's good. Yeah.
Wanted to voice my appreciation for the work over the years before launching into my own stupid answers for this week's questions. Being born and raised in a series of landlocked areas, I have never been surfing, but I have, however, ridden the bull on many whitewater rafting trips, meaning straddling the prow of the raft while holding the bow line between your legs. The last time I did this was on a Class 3 Rapid I had ridden before, where the raft came down hard and struck a stone underwater. The impact was enough to ping me skyward and catch enough air to be able to process "fuck me, I'm flying" before hitting the water a moment later. Completely unrelated to the question, but I enjoy the story of one of your audience being flung like from a catapult. Believe it or not, I do not recall failing any important tests, but eye education was a long time ago. Child left behind. I want to say that I read that sentence exactly as written. But capital I education was a long time ago.
Excellent.
That is beautiful. Me fail English? That's impossible. I have in fact been more than just stuck in a storm. I have in fact been stranded inside a hotel with other attendees of a local anime convention. I had been out walking the near mile to a nearby fast food place when the storm rolled in, and a short meal later, the bridge I crossed was rapidly getting washed out. Being an idiot teenager at the time, I didn't worry about it until the next morning when I heard nearly 36 centimeters of rain had fallen overnight. Cue somewhere in the ballpark of 2,000 weebs and roughly 100-person business conference having to coexist in a single hotel for 3 days, as a large swath of the city was under 2 meters of water. Yes, There was some 6-day unwashed weeb stench even while we had clean running water. We were eventually evacuated by boat by the National Guard and returned home, which for me meant leaving one rock for another, but this was a few square kilometers surrounding my neighborhood. Fortunately, utilities were all functioning as I was stranded again for the rest of the week until the water slowly receded. I have more or less trained like a Jedi on not one but two things in my life. In a more physical sense, I spent several years practicing karate, reaching as far as second kyu, while the only space I had in walking distance for solo drills was the gravel lot behind where I lived. Being the weirdly passionate kid in the dojo, I, of course, did that shit barefoot, rain or shine, no matter the season. See the first paragraph for reference for what kind of gravel I was on. Other than that, we can look at my stoner years, where my idea of Zen was to get baked off my gourd and fire up F-Zero GX on the hardest difficulty, a routine that I spent the bulk of my weekend doing for a number of years. After a while, I was so muscle memory proficient that I was good enough sober or too high to think. It won me a few convention tournaments, but in my friend group, I was so near untouchable that the only person who tried to keep up was my best friend and fellow pothead. Anywho, thanks for the humoring, rambling autist.
You're welcome.
Weren't you a fucking F-Zero GX lunatic?
I was.
Yeah, my brother was as well.
I had the F-Zero autism.
Yeah, because I have read that getting the final, whatever, license or trophy or something is like...
Getting, 100% in the full game is...
a huge
It's probably one of the hardest games I've ever played. Because, the story missions on, the hardest difficulty were just... They hate you.
Because they give you these extra, you got to do X thing in X amount of time, and they just shrink the time, and you basically have to be flawless.
You've got to be frame perfect.
Yeah. Because I know my brother did do it, but it was just fuck it forever.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you needed a cheat device for most places if you wanted everything as well, because you had the AX stuff, which you were supposed to get by taking your memory card to the AX machine and the arcade machine and winning shit on there.
Yeah, which didn't exist.
There was one in Sydney at Sega World when it was still around, but it wasn't around for long.
Yeah, that's a shame. Hello, Amber and Gabe.
Hi.
Mason here, long-time listener, first-time trauma dumping, and yes, I have felt like this.
Ooh.
Have you ever failed an important test? Yes. Not being a sporty high schooler, I was part of the chorus class. That's very funny.
What's the chorus class?
It's where I'm guessing this is where they separate you into straights and fruits. Or tops and bottoms, we'll say. Because, there's okay,
Google
here
it.
go all the athletes. The rest of you mincing Nancy's go off to chorus, which I'm going to guess is singing in a chorus. Every year I would be the tryhard who would go to all-state chorus auditions. To get in, we had to do music note reading test, which I was arse at. I entered the room hoping to get our school into the Virginia State team that year and just had to pass the test. Looking at the sheet, my mind went blank and I started to sweat. I just stood there and said notes that I knew and then left with my tail between my legs, knowing that I had failed, but was glad that I didn't have to waste a Saturday practicing songs for hours. Have you ever been caught in a storm? I have. One day I was outside on my family's trampoline when hail started to fall from the sky. I took cover under our deck and waited for it to stop, which took 90 minutes.
Ugh.
I think it's funny that he was at his house, but took cover under the deck as opposed to inside the house. Yeah.
Well, you see, failing the chorus class was not allowed inside. We only accept winners in this house.
You're an outside little boy now, Mason. I'm going to tie you to this stake. You can run around. You can use the trampoline. That's pretty good. And when it's not hailing, that's a really good deal, actually. Just under the fucking... that's what a dog would do.
Yeah.
You'd come home and the dog's under the fucking... Took 90... He was under there for an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's rough.
Have you ever trained like a Jedi? Be the singer of my family. My parents pushed me into talent contests, and for one of them, I was forced to practice the song It's Still Rockin' and Roll to Me by Billy Joel for 3 hours to get it correct, as my parents were going to buy me a shiny new PSP if I won the contest.
Motivation.
Yeah, I get the PSP part of it,
Yeah.
you know.
No, definitely.
I ended up coming in second, beaten out by a girl who was way more talented, and again, also meaning that I didn't have to waste another weekend singing a bad Billy Joel song. I mean, you did spend a long time singing a bad Billy Joel song and didn't get a PSP, though, so that's kind of back under the deck with you. Thanks for the great videos, and we'll write again. Hopefully next time I can tell the story of a kid in my class looking like he was masturbating while playing Pokemon. He was masturbating while playing Pokemon. I'm just going to jump to that
That's the story. You don't need to say more.
I will which Pokemon? Because that runs the gamut from almost understandable to what the fuck is wrong with you.
Oh. Yeah, fair. I have an idea for a video. Anyway, continue.
I don't want to know. Good day, fine gentleman and kind lady. I hope the two of you are well. I have indeed been stuck in a storm. I lived for 20 plus years of my life on the Isle of Wight, an island in the south of England. It's about 148 square miles in size, and from above, it sort of looks like a diamond drawn by a 2-year-old. Yeah, that would suck being on one of those, like, little mini lumps that, like, you can sort of have civilized society on, but only just. The island relies almost entirely on 2 ferry companies to transport everything over the small but typically rough stretch of water known as the Solent. That's insane. Given that the Solent is only about 2.5 to 5 miles wide, these ferries are some of the most expensive in the world. At around £80 or 155 Australian for a day return of the car. I'm surprised I wouldn't be able to get off that far. I'm not spending $155 to get off the fucking island. Fuck you. Get off that island, go on the Big Island. If I'm staying on Big Island, eat shit.
Yeah.
That is insane. I was studying at Southampton University, but lived back at home on the island. That's a terrible idea. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Even though the season ticket was expensive, it was still cheaper than renting a flat. This occasionally meant that I would have to get the ferry back home pretty late at night. One night in particular, I had been procrastinating with my PSP in the library. What is it with PSPs? How do we get sponsored by PSP today?
I don't know.
You can watch Bible Black on UMD.
God. Sure.
Surprised that didn't take off. HD. And forgot the time. It was pouring with rain outside, but I thought little of it until I got to the ferry terminal to be told that all the ferries had been cancelled until the weather cleared. For about 4 hours, I sat in this cold, windy waiting room at the end of a pier with a few other stranded passengers, waiting to be told if I could go home. Just when I had finally decided to see if my friends would let me crash on their floor for the night, a disgruntled ferry captain approached us. I feel like a disgruntled ferry captain is going to be one of the most disgruntled creatures you'll ever see. You know? Like, I picture that and I'm like, wow, yeah. That's disgruntled. I'm picturing season 1 Nell. He grunted at us, and he had some of the other crew were also from the island and not wanting to spend the night there, so they were taking the 200-seater twin-hulled passenger ferry back to the island. He told us that it was going to be a pretty choppy ride, and if we didn't want to join them, then we could still wait it out. We all agreed to go. This is great. Basically, the trained sailors are about to go on, a suicide mission to get home. I just sat down behind this teenage girl and her mother. The girl sounded pretty nervous as the ferry was rolling quite violently, even though it was still tied to the jetty. Cut to us mid-Solent with the ferry literally jumping over waves like a jet ski, and this girl screaming, her head buried in her lap as she curled up into her seat, and then behind me, me behind her hysterically laughing. I'm not sure why I found it all so funny at the time. Maybe I was genuinely scared, I don't remember. It certainly didn't help matters for her. Her mother made that very clear to me. Anyway, we all got back to the island alive. Have a good rest of your day, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
That is pretty funny. Like that, yeah, like, I understand the laughing, because it says that's a nervous response.
Yeah.
That sometimes you just do that in the face of, like, something terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I basically went through that when I was going to Stradbroke one time. Like I said, it wasn't like a big fucking, this is a ferry that cars go on. It was like a runabout, which is like a fucking, basically a tinny, but like slightly leveled up.
Yeah.
So like the Super Mario of tinnies, which is not much.
No.
And like a fucking awning over it and some seats. And the weather was like rough and the seas were fucking up. So, I mean, it'd go up, it'd go down. And in the going down part was like enough for your butt to come off of the seat. And then slam your fucking into the seat when it hit. And this entire time, like, and I don't like big ass bodies of water.
No.
Because that's just not my habitat.
No.
Not only are there weird things in there that will touch me, but like I might drown.
Yeah.
The thing fucking, I can like float. Like I lived near the beach and shit when I was a little kid. So I could do all the shit you're supposed to do. But that ain't a guarantee, Be out there a fucking while. And so I'm not hugely enjoying this. I'm like, too high, but not high enough to make it fun. And then there's this like old Aboriginal lady across from me who's pretty drunk and just cackling and laughing her ass off the whole time. And then, like 2 minutes in, decides to sing like that fucking "Why Don't You Get a Job" song by Offspring. Because that had been going around on the fucking, radio.
Right.
And that was funny. That made me laugh. Because it's like, all right, I am now in just an absurd situation. This, even if I die, I can't take this seriously. All right, that was a good series of mutant letters this time around. I like the idea of someone having to hide under a deck as opposed to going inside.
I like seeing them as the deck child. You're now the deck child.
The children under the deck.
The children under the deck.
Little red eyes peeking out. The deck child.
The deck child.
Oh, God. Didn't go inside.
No. The deck child is not allowed inside, Gabriel.
The TV's inside. I hit her under a deck.
TVs are not for deck children. It has to be ant.
PSPs are for winners.
I feel that should be a thing, right? You give the child motivation. I'll give you this as you win, but if you lose, I'll break one of your legs. Like, we need punishments to go along with the reward.
If you win, a PSP. If you lose, Atari Lynx.
Oh
no! At that time, Engage.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, not the version 2 either. No. You're going to be side talking.
V1. Oh, you'd like to change your game? You better take out your battery, chump.
Yeah. Is that easy? Oh, heavens no.
No.
No. You need a screwdriver.
I'm amazed that got to market.
There were some decisions in that first version that were just like, you're dumb. This is just fucking dumb. This isn't like, some of it was ahead of its time.
Absolutely.
And the rest of it, fucking dumb.
Dumb.
Okay, so if you want us to read your letters, send your emails to IHaveFeltLikeThis. It's all lowercase. At yahoo.com. That is, IHaveFeltLikeThis. All lowercase at yahoo.com. And our questions for this week are: have you ever had to do a science project for school? Ever had a remote control toy? Ever had to do chores? And the wacky one: ever had something serious happen to your head or brain? So email those through to IHaveFeltLikeThis at yahoo.com. And we will... maybe you'll be next episode's deck child.
Won't you please visit us under the deck?
Tell us what's happening in the outside.
We only know deck.
This fucking deck child shit's gonna kill me. I've been Gabriel Twist.
I've been Amber Twist.
And this has been Ever Felt Like This.
Bye.